Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the founder and chief executive of Octopus Energy, and I recently talked about the need for zonal pricing and the benefits of it. But today I thought we should talk about how it works. A quick warning, this is quite a long video and gets pretty technical. I think that's important though, because a lot of people have said, like, how can zonal save this much money? And it's important we get into all the details. Zonal pricing in electricity works for three reasons. First of all, it helps rebalance the system in favour of consumers and away from producers. That's why some of the producers don't like it. The second thing it does is make the system dramatically more efficient at the back end. And we can talk about the savings, the £3.7 billion of savings that generates in a minute. And finally, it ensures that we can get more out of our existing system and make it more efficient as we continue building out all the new capacity we're going to need. But before we go on, we should quickly talk about how the electricity market works today in Britain. First of all, there's the wholesale market. The price is set every half hour by the most expensive unit of electricity generated anywhere in the country during that half hour. And then there are the system costs. Basically, at any moment in time, we have to make sure the same amount of electricity is going onto the grid as is coming off the grid. Today, those system costs are a couple of £1 billion a year, but they're set to rise to £7 or £8 billion under the current plans for expanding the system, especially renewables, by 2030. So on efficient days, the UK actually has pretty cheap electricity, but there's so many inefficient days. And on those days, for example, it might be a windy day in one area of the country, and we pay the wind farms to turn off because there isn't enough demand in their area. And simultaneously, we'll pay gas power stations to switch on to fill those gaps. On those days, we might have quite a low wholesale cost because it's being set by the wind, but we have very, very high system costs because they're paying the gas generations to fill the gaps. So let's look at how zonal pricing might attack some of those issues. On an efficient day, things will be exactly as they are today. But on an inefficient day, zonal pricing means that we'll buy the cheapest electricity available in each region, selling it at the price that that region sets. Instead of today's system, where you essentially buy the electricity and throw it away, and then go and buy it all again from a different generator. So first of all, we have constraint costs. That's the amount we pay to things like wind farms or solar farms to turn off on days they could be generating a lot of electricity. These costs will go down because we'll be able to sell the electricity cheaply, locally, rather than paying them to turn off. At the back end of the electricity system, we've got huge infrastructure like massive grid-scale batteries, which are growing hugely as we get more and more renewables on the system and need to store that power at the right times. And interconnectors that connect the UK to other countries with electricity flowing both ways depending on the relative prices in each country. Without zonal pricing, batteries are set to be charging and discharging at the wrong times to balance the system because they're reacting to a national price signal rather than the one that reflects kind of the state of the grid in their area. And interconnectors are doing the same. So up to 30% of the time by 2030, interconnectors will be literally flowing the wrong way. That is taking electricity out of the UK when we haven't got very much and bringing more into the UK at times we don't need it. And we'd be paying for all of that inefficiency. Zonal pricing means that those kinds of infrastructure can react to the local price signal, so they actually help improve the system, not make it worse. The next one is pretty complicated, but in essence, in today's market, a generator will get paid £100 if that's the national price. So everybody pays that £100. But in a zonal market, everyone in their zone would be paying at 50. And anything they export into other zones, they also only get 50. The price difference goes to the grid operator and is used to bring down bills. And that is one of the biggest areas of saving that you get from a zonal system. And some costs actually go up in zonal pricing world. The wholesale cost is forecast to actually go up a small amount, but it's vastly outweighed by these huge system savings. And that's why, I said it was so important to share the whole picture here, because if you only look at the wholesale cost, you completely miss the huge benefits of zonal pricing. And that's a mistake I've seen in quite a lot of the coverage here. One of the others that goes up very slightly is the cost of CFDs. That's the mechanism that guarantees prices for some renewable generators. And because most of those CFDs are in Scotland, where wholesale pricing is going to drop a lot, the cost of delivering that price guarantee to the Scottish generators goes up a little bit. But overall, just to be clear, the savings from the efficiency in the system vastly outweigh these areas that increase. And that's why it's important to look at the whole picture, because people who've got a specific angle might only look at one bit of it. But look, there are so many more potential savings from zonal pricing. For example, it makes better use of our infrastructure, which means we need less new infrastructure. That would mean, for example, potentially less new transmission, fewer new pylons. Now, of course, I've talked about the benefits of zonal pricing. I've also talked about the underlying mechanisms, both the ups and the downs. But implementing things like this does sound challenging. And of course, it requires hard work. But a credible report by the consultancy Arup, for example, said it could be introduced in as little as a year and a half. Even if it took a lot longer, it would still be worthwhile. The sooner we get it implemented, the more efficient the system we're going to build for the future. But it's being done in so many other countries and markets that most of the difficult problems have already been answered. There's also enough saving here that you can provide things like grandfathering arrangements to help safeguard existing investments that have already been made and still have enormous savings. I know this is a long video, and the fact that you're still watching, I hope means that you found it interesting. If you have, please like and subscribe, because we will do updates if there are questions and as this debate continues. Thank you.